What if the warmest shelter you could find in the heart of an Arctic winter was built from nothing but snow? Not stone, not wood, not fire-powered technology, just frozen wind, carved and shaped by human hands. Inside this fragile-looking dome, entire families once lived full lives. They slept, worked, raised children, repaired tools, and prepared for hunts that stretched not for days but for weeks, sometimes months. All while the outside world plunged into temperatures so extreme they would shut down modern cities within hours. This was not a myth. It was daily reality. Today, on *** Native Legends Uncovered ***, we step inside the *** medium family igloo, ***, the most common snow house ever built by Inuit hunters, to uncover how survival, routine, and resilience quietly unfolded inside a home made entirely of ice. A medium family igloo was never built by instinct or chance. It was the result of generations of observation, failure, and refinement. A structure shaped by necessity rather than tradition. Its dimensions mattered. Roughly 3 to 4 meters across, rising just over 2 meters high. This size struck a careful balance between competing forces. Large enough to shelter 4 or 5 people through long Arctic nights, yet compact enough to trap and preserve precious body heat. Any larger, and warmth would dissipate. Any smaller, and daily life would become impossible. The materials were just as deliberate. Every block of snow came from wind-packed drifts. Snow compressed by storms into dense, workable slabs. Strong enough to be cut cleanly. Light enough to insulate. Each block was tilted inward, set into a rising spiral that locked itself into place. As the dome grew higher, gravity became an ally, pressing every piece tighter together. There were no wooden beams, no binding agents, no margin for error. Geometry did the work. Physics held it standing. This was not architecture designed to impress. It was architecture designed to endure. And when the final block sealed the dome, something remarkable happened. Heat began to collect. Breath, body warmth, and lamplight slowly transformed the interior. Cold stayed low. Warmth rose. A shelter made of snow began to protect life from the coldest environment on Earth. Inside the igloo, space was never defined by walls or partitions. It was shaped by something far more invisible and far more powerful. Temperature. The entrance tunnel was carved low and stretched outward, forcing anyone who entered to descend before rising again. This design was intentional. Cold Arctic air, heavy and dense, flowed downward and settled inside the tunnel, trapped there like water in a basin. With every step inward and upward, the air grew noticeably warmer. The main living chamber sat higher than the entrance, positioned where heat could naturally collect. Along the rear wall, sleeping platforms were carved directly from packed snow, lifting bodies away from the frozen floor. This elevation mattered. Just a few inches higher meant resting in the warmest layer of air inside the shelter, where body heat and lamplight slowly accumulated. Even the ceiling played a role. As the quollic burned below, warm air rose and brushed against the inner surface of the dome. The heat gently melted a thin layer of snow, which then refroze as temperatures stabilized. This process created a smooth ice glaze, sealing microscopic gaps between snow blocks and strengthening the structure from within. The igloo did not resist heat. It responded to it. Instead of weakening, it adapted, tightening, sealing, and insulating itself more effectively with every passing hour. A structure made of snow learned how to live with warmth, without surrendering to it. Morning inside an igloo began in near silence. No alarms. No clocks. Only the slow rhythm of breathing, briefly visible in the dim blue light that filtered through ice and snow. During the night, temperatures had fallen again. Boots left near the wall stiffened into frozen shapes. Fur clothing hardened, holding the memory of the cold. When the family stirred, the first task was never eating. It was restoring the shelter that kept them alive. Bare feet pressed gently across the sleeping platform, smoothing away frost that had formed overnight. Loose snow was scraped aside. The surface was reshaped carefully, preserving the insulating layer that separated warm bodies from the frozen ground. These movements were slow, deliberate, and practiced small actions with enormous consequences. Children were often the first to move through the entrance tunnel. They fetched ice blocks or packed snow for melting, their small bodies navigating the cold with efficiency learned over years. Waste was removed just as carefully. Even a small mistake, moisture left behind, heat lost too quickly, could weaken the igloo's delicate balance. A thin window of clear ice was wiped clean by hand, allowing daylight to spill inside. Light was not a luxury. It was orientation. It marked time. It signaled safety. Every morning was an act of maintenance. Because in this world, neglect was never neutral. It was dangerous. At the center of the igloo burned the quolak, quiet and unwavering. A shallow stone lamp, fed by seal oil. No roaring flames. No sparks. No sound of wood breaking apart. Only a steady, disciplined glow that pulsed gently against the snow walls. Its purpose was never singular. The quolak existed to provide heat, light, and life. And each role demanded restraint. The warmth it produced rose slowly, just enough to soften the air without threatening the structure itself. Clothing hung above the flame, drying inch by inch, releasing moisture that would otherwise freeze into danger. Ice blocks were placed nearby to melt, becoming drinking water through patience rather than force. The quolak also controlled something less visible: humidity. Too much heat, and the dome would weaken from excess melt. Too little, and the interior would harden into ice, trapping the family in cold silence. Every adjustment mattered. For this reason, the lamp was never left alone. Someone always watched it, measured it, listened to how the igloo responded. When hunts were successful, the flame burned steady and sure. When they failed, the oil ran low. The light dimmed. The air cooled. Silence stretched longer between movements. In this home, fire was never spectacle. It did not dominate the space. It obeyed it. Here, fire was not power. It was responsibility. Daily life inside the igloo revolved around one central idea: preparation. Nothing was casual. Nothing was wasted. Every movement served a purpose beyond the present moment. Men worked methodically, repairing harpoons, reshaping sled runners, tightening hunting lines worn by ice and strain. Each tool had to function flawlessly. Out on the frozen sea or open tundra, failure allowed no correction. A cracked shaft, a loose knot, a dulled edge, any one of them could end a hunt or a life. Nearby, women softened hides with patient hands, working stiffness out of frozen skins until they became clothing, bedding, and shelter once more. Bone needles flashed in the low light as garments were stitched and repaired. Food was prepared with the same precision. Nothing was discarded. Fat became fuel. Skin became protection. Bone transformed into tools that would serve again and again. Meals were simple, but powerful. Raw fish, seal meat, caribou fat, dense with calories. Built for endurance rather than comfort. There was no excess, only what the body required to keep moving in relentless cold. Outside the igloo, dog teams waited. Fed. Rested. Alert. They were not companions in the modern sense, but partners in survival essential for travel, hauling, and long-distance hunting. Movement meant life. Stillness meant risk. Every task completed inside the igloo prepared the family for something happening far beyond its snow walls. A hunt on shifting ice, a journey through white silence, or another day survived in a land that offered no forgiveness. Children did not grow up protected from responsibility inside the igloo. Responsibility was part of the air they breathed. They learned first by watching, by carrying water through the cold tunnel, by feeling the bite of winter on bare skin and understanding what it meant. No lesson was abstract. Cold was real. Weight was real. Mistakes had consequences. They listened closely as elders spoke about the land, how wind shifted before a storm, how ice changed its sound when it became unsafe, how silence itself could warn of danger. Stories were never told for entertainment alone. Each one carried instructions, encoded in memory. And sometimes, silence taught more than words ever could. The igloo became a classroom without walls or schedules. Learning happened while sewing hides, while tending the lamp, while stepping carefully onto frozen ground. When mistakes were made, They were corrected gently. Fear was useless here. Only understanding kept people alive. Comfort was never given freely. It was earned through skill, patience, and awareness. Warmth came from knowing where to sit, how to move, when to act. And long before reaching adulthood, Inuit children understood something many modern people never do. Warmth could disappear at any moment. Food could fail. Shelter could collapse. But awareness once learned stayed with you. And in the Arctic, that awareness was the most valuable inheritance of all. The medium family igloo endured because it was honest. It made no promises it could not keep. It relied only on what the land offered in abundance: wind-packed snow, human skill, and time-tested knowledge. Nothing was imported. Nothing was artificial. Every element came from direct interaction with the environment, and every decision respected its limits. The igloo adapted constantly. Its walls tightened as temperatures shifted. Its interior adjusted to heat, breath, and movement. It demanded attention every day: small repairs, careful monitoring. Subtle changes, made before problems became dangers. Neglect was never invisible. The structure responded immediately. Care was not optional. Respect was not symbolic. They were functional requirements for survival. This was never meant to be a permanent home. It was not built to endure decades or leave a lasting mark on the landscape. It was designed to perform perfectly for exactly as long as it was needed, and no longer. A shelter with a clear purpose and a clear ending. When the hunt moved on, the igloo was abandoned without ceremony. Left open to the wind, to drifting snow, to time itself. Sometimes another family would use it. Sometimes it would slowly disappear back into the land that formed it. The structure vanished. The knowledge did not. That knowledge how to read snow, shape shelter, manage heat, and live in balance with a harsh world was carried forward. Passed from one generation to the next. And that, more than ice or architecture, is why the medium family igloo truly endured. So what does a house made of snow truly teach us? It teaches that survival was never about overpowering nature, never about bending the world to human will. It was about learning the rules of the land so completely that movement became quiet, efficient, and almost invisible. The Inuit did not fight the Arctic. They listened to it. They observed its patterns, respected its limits, and built their lives within those boundaries. The igloo stands as proof that intelligence, patience, and restraint can succeed, where brute force never could. If this journey inside a traditional Inuit igloo changed the way you see human resilience, consider subscribing to *** Native Legends Uncovered ***. Here, we don't simply revisit the past. We recover knowledge shaped by real danger, real consequences, and real survival. And before you leave, take a moment to reflect. In a world that grows louder, faster, and more complex every day, what ancient wisdom, quiet, deliberate, and tested by time, might we need to remember again?